a very important story that we're tracking this morning, and that is with respect to dubious loan apps. We are now given to understand that Google has made it extremely stringent for loan apps which are hoping to be installed on Google Play Store and then be installed on users. They have to comply with certain set of measures.
Absolutely. And Shweta, this is something that had become a pain in the neck for a lot of users, and especially the slightly lesser educated, more vulnerable guys out there who needed instant money. And playing a game or scrubbing through social media, you stumble upon an ad, you click on that ad that takes you to, and how does this all work? Because your cookies are being tracked. So you're actually looking for personal loan, cheap personal loan, interest-free personal loan, all that. So, your social media engines, your algorithms, they sort of feed off that. And they realize that, hey, there is somebody who's looking for personal loan, and when you're playing a game or you're on social media, you click on an ad that takes you to the Play Store, you download an authentic looking app, and almost through muscle memory, you check all the boxes. Give access to contacts, give access to photographs, give access to videos, give access to documents. Pretty much everything on your phone becomes accessible to that loan app. And so many people have lost money, have been burdened with loan, and have been exploited to a point that their personal images have been extracted from their phones, morphed into obscene images, shared with their contacts, and in a bid to exploit more money out of them. And finally, there has been a crackdown on that. So Government of India as well as RBI both pestered Google, and finally Google has complied. So now what this move does is it enforces very stringent measures where you need to be an authentic loan app. And how do you prove that? You've got to share with Google your lending license, which the RBI gives you, or a third-party agreement that you have. If you're an aggregator, you don't have a lending license. If you're an aggregator, you've got third-party agreements with authentic lending apps that you're able to aggregate customers for them to loan money to. Now, in addition to that, you cannot access contacts, you cannot access photographs, you cannot access videos, you cannot access any personal information whatsoever, and it safeguards customers by not falling prey to these dubious apps. But there's a little bit of a hitch in that. The hitch is the authentic guys are now going to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of manpower, a lot of money verifying their customers. Because up until now, you could upload your PAN card, your Aadhaar card, your other KYC documents on these apps. Google is saying nothing doing. You can't even do that anymore. So while the dubious guys get thrown out of the market, the authentic, serious players will find it difficult and expensive to acquire and retain customers and authenticate those customers.
Absolutely, and we'll come to that because that's also important in a sense to identify genuine recipients so as to not lose money to people who are, of course, playing to multiple avenues, Krishna, to get money. But very interesting there, so far we've seen extortion in the name of, loan apps not just try to get the money back that they have lended, but also use every possible measure in the book, as Karthik pointed out, from harassment to exploitation to morphing your images. Many people have died, Krishna, in this country. There's been an effort made by government, by RBI to crack down on these, as we call it, dubious or fake loan apps, and that seems to be happening now.
Oh, absolutely. The process essentially, Shweta, began about a year ago. It was in July 2022 when the RBI, along with the Government of India, started investigating, these. At that time, we're talking about 274 fraudulent personal loan apps. 274 that were under the scanner of the Government of India and the Reserve Bank of India. And they were very clear that there are Chinese scammers who are behind it. In fact, they say there's one big Chinese mastermind behind all these fraudulent loan apps. And check this out, talking about extortion and harassment. In many instances, it was discovered that one of the milder insulting names used in text of people who got these loans to harass them into paying back the money, the milder slanderous names used, the term used, I can't believe I'm saying this, is rapist. That's the level that these apps, these scammer apps are going down to. And essentially the issue is because all of these apps are huge, majority of these personal loan apps are based out of China, are controlled out of China, with Indian agents getting a huge commission. So this is a racket that's essentially began in 2021 at the peak of, during the pandemic time.
Absolutely. Young people were more needy.
And there's a clear trend over here, Shweta. There were young people who lost their jobs. There were young people who were on their phones all the time, as Kathy was talking about, playing games, doing this, doing that. They have the apps, they have all the free time because there's no jobs available, and they need money. So, and they don't know any better because of the age group that they belong to. So, a lot of young people watching this, you're talking about the 18 to 25 to 30 age group, who need jobs, who should be at jobs, who did not have jobs in 2021. That's when this thing erupted. Seemed like free cash, but as you're saying, so many people died, so many people have been pathetically harassed. And now, if I were to read out, Shweta, in fact, I have a list of the 274. I'm going to just read out a few names so that people can be aware. There's Cash Advance Attach, Dhanpal, Cash Host, Rupee OK, Cash Manager, Fry Loan. 274 of these kind of apps. Look at the names. The names will tell you how fraudulent they are. Young people lured into it. And I'm extremely glad that it's not just the RBI and the government of India who are taking it up, but they're now, joining hands with somebody like Google. And I wish they do that with Apple as well, is all I can say at this stage.
Absolutely. We don't know if it's going to happen with Apple Store
No,
as
Apple,
well.
in any case, is a little more strict. On Google, it has thus far been easy for any app developer to go and list on Google.
Okay.
Apple asks for greater verification, greater authenticity, and that is why it takes longer for apps to release on Apple as compared to Google, because it pretty much tests your code at every point.
Right.
And Apple has better compliance with GDPR norms, which are prevalent in Europe as opposed to Google, and that is why Google in US as well as in Europe and many other parts of the world, including Ireland, Australia, etc., is fighting these battles on privacy, which governments across the world are pushing down on Google, and rightly so, I believe.
And before we move on, I think it's also important to mention, as you briefly touched on, and that is for genuine apps to acquire customers will also be made difficult because you just don't have to anymore. One of the operating mechanisms of these apps was that it's easy loan, it's easy money. That is, you just put your name, your PAN card. In some cases, you don't even need a PAN card. You can put your Aadhaar details, your PAN card details, whatever is available to you, and we'll disburse it in the shortest possible time with the highest possible interest rates. We of course want access to your photographs, to in some cases your contact list. We should know everything that is on your phone. But with genuine apps at this point in time, you will have more stringent measures in place, which means that the scale and the operations will cost more money now in order to acquire new customers.
So acquisition will be pretty much the same. Retention, I think, is going to be expensive. So you will use the same. See, what do the genuine guys do? What do the certified loan apps or the BFSI sector that lends out to people like you and me and Krishna, what they do is they, in any case, look at your CIBIL score. They're not going to lend money to you if your CIBIL score is low. They would do KYC in any case. It's just that now the format of KYC, instead of it being digital, a couple of clicks, a couple of tabs on your phone and your KYC is through, that becomes a little more difficult and a little more expensive.
Right. So therefore, new customers would be difficult to acquire. Would that be the case?
It'll be expensive to acquire those customers.
Right. And that would be, of course, interesting. We'll have to wait and watch out for the impact.
You need more feet on street, you need more agencies, you need more third party. I mean, back in the day, not that long ago, about 7-8 years ago, to verify your Paytm wallet, they would send a person down physically, right?
Yes,
you would show your Aadhaar, they would scan it, your biometrics would be taken, or opening a new bank account for that matter. Somebody would come home with a tablet connected to a biometric machine, you punch in your thumb on it and it authenticates your identity. All of those measures may come back, or there could be digital innovations also. I mean, don't upload a document, touch a particular area in your phone and your thumb gets scanned and so on and so forth. Okay. So things like these would be innovated upon, and the BFSI sector of course is flush with funds, especially the fintech guys. They have enough and more money to innovate and implement new product features which will ease this cost, but in the immediate term of course they may have to rely on the rudimentary feet on street model.
And does this also mean that it will be difficult to get that easy money now?
Easy money for people with low CIBIL score, yes. And
will be difficult.
Rightly so.
Right.
And I would say, go back to the oldest cliche. There's nothing called as a free lunch in this world.
Absolutely.
There's nothing called as easy money. If the money is coming to you easy, then I'd say no. I would say just stay away from it. You don't know. I mean, it's not just about personal.
You don't know what you're going to pay back.
You don't know what
and
you're clicking on.
And in what form? Absolutely.
You don't know what you're clicking on anything unless otherwise it comes from a verified source. I would say, from the media industry, I would say, be it news or loans, take it only from verified sources.
What happened to the 2,000 rupee note I gave you yesterday? Well, nothing.
I have to take it back to the RBI from what I know, and I have a deadline till
You
30th
have
of
time.
September. I'm being told post 30th September we can still use it as legal tender. I don't know when it's legal,
But you
illegal.
have ample time.
I don't know about the note, but all I can tell you is that anything that doesn't involve a note, online, app, link, click, just say hi, we'll give you money.
Don't take
Stay
it.
away.
Absolutely. Don't, and I think that's a very crucial piece of advice.
like- it's
Don't
like-
take money if it's being given out to you, handed out to you.
It's like all those movies that say based on a true story. It's like those movies which have a problem of being true.
All right, that is an interesting and important story.